You seen Metro yet?
Oh yeah, I downloaded the game. I just never really played it.
What?
I know. Fine, I'll play the dang game. Let me click on it. Load it up.
You gotta press the button.
I know, just give me a second, would you?
Oh my god, what is that?
Oh,
holy 2000.
Metro.
Get it off! Get it off!
Oh my god.
Christ, that's
Oh my
10
god.
times worse. You gotta press the button.
Ah, the Moscow Metro. Such a magnificent place. So rich, so full of life.
Oh God! Shoot them!
Metro 2033 is a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter set in the heart of the Moscow Metro. Developed by 4A Games, this story-heavy horror is set and based upon the book of the same name. It's the year 2013 when a nuclear holocaust plagues the Earth, destroying life as we know it and forcing those who are left to live underground in the Moscow Metro. This leads us to our protagonist, Artyom, who is revealed to have been born just before the Holocaust began. 20 years later is where our story begins, in the year 2033, hence the title. The game starts out beautifully, and I mean, oh man, I love it when You start out climbing a ladder with only one other lone man named Miller, in a desolate area filled with red warning lights and a grim atmosphere that seems to have not been inhabited for many years. The tutorial is swift, but it doesn't get in your way much, and you're pretty much immediately dropped into the action. Right away, you're playing the game, and by doing so, you utilize most of the basic controls needed to play the game. I mean, they're pretty much standard first-person shooter controls, so there's not much explaining here. The start of the game drops you right into not only the gameplay aspect, but also right into the heart of the story and the atmosphere, leaving you with a sense of what the is going on. It shows you how shadows can be used to see enemies, how crappy the guns are, and the dangers of being outside of the metro. Once you're outside, it hits the fan pretty fast. And right when your heart is racing and you're not sure what's going on, bam, you're back 8 days earlier. The storytelling in the game starts out really well and has solid pacing. I never felt like I was being given too much information, nor was I being dragged along endlessly, never to advance the plot. You're living your normal life in the tunnels as a man named Alex wakes you up and tells you Hunter is about to arrive with news from the other stations.
Wake at last, I see. Hunter's on his way in. He should have news from the other stations.
As you make your way to meet Hunter, you quickly find that the station has recently been attacked. The hospital is full, and that the ones responsible aren't the usual mutant creatures, but something simply known as the Dark Ones.
You think you're some old movie cowboy? Have a look, Hunter. 10 soldiers trained in combat. Their bodies broken, their minds gone.
The Dark Ones! They destroyed the outer guard post!
The devil knows what's happening out there, beyond your perimeter. I must go recon the situation. Listen carefully, Artyom. If I'm not back here by morning, you must get to police station and find a man named Miller. Tell him what's happened to me, and what's stirring in the northern tunnels. Show this to Miller, so he knows I've sent you. I trust everything to you, Artyom. Don't let me down.
And that's where it begins. Released in 2009, the visuals of the game were excellent for the time, and the game was so demanding on hardware that it remained the staple benchmark for years after its release. Partly due to the graphical demand, but a large portion due to the terrible optimization. My god, it's bad. Massive frame rate drops in random areas, screen tearing at below monitor refresh rate, and a hog for resources. It was particularly bad during a recording due to the extra stress of the capture software. The rest of the game performed badly too, with bad hitboxes, animations that made characters invulnerable until the animation finished, filter changes not registering, and crashing. In fact, when I went back to start the review, I was met with the physics.dll error. Even with the physics drivers updated, and it gave me fits. Once one enemy was put on alert, they immediately knew your location. Not just them, everyone. It makes a clear choice though. Be stealthy or be dead. Also, is it just me or does everyone look the same? Did the people who just happened to make it alive down here somehow become all related to one another? I mean, like him or him, or him. A lot of outdoor things seem to be cut and pasted as well, but let's not discount all of that to forget the game's beauty. It really is a treat to be in this game. You really do feel isolated and fearful, not for just the mutants, but the environment itself. And there's gameplay mechanics to back it up. Your gas mask filters need to be monitored when out in areas of radiation, as they last only 5 minutes and need to be changed. If you're not careful and get into a fight while wearing it, it could get damaged and you will need to find a new one before you die. Your flashlight needs to be maintained with the charger, and there's pneumatic weapons that require air to be pumped back up. The game utilizes the atmosphere and heavy contrast to make you fear for what may be around. But the game itself isn't overly scary. It's not weighted on the scares to keep you interested, and that's a good thing. Everything is kept mysterious, and that's what's so eerie. It's very easy to get sucked in, and most everything is believable. You have Russians drinking vodka, maps of the actual Moscow metro, mentions of the secret D6 metro, Russians drinking vodka. Oh, it's beautiful. The other cool thing about the game is just the mere fact that you're in a place that actually exists today. During the height of the Cold War, the Moscow metro received tunnels several hundred feet below the surface to shield them from a possible nuclear war. And places like the mysterious tunnels of D6 are also pulled into the story. There's 2 endings to the game based on the choices you make in the game. Those choices aren't clear, which kinda sucks, but I suppose it was supposed to be like that. You get a blink when you do something that goes towards the alternate ending, but even after doing a lot of them, I still didn't get the second ending. Although I think it may have been due to bouncing between levels and then going back forward to my farthest point. So anyway, can we move along now? Sure. What did I really think about this game? .4 out of 10, a solid B. The game scored above average in points that I thought mattered the most in a horror-based shooter, with both the categories of gameplay and immersion receiving double scoring. Gameplay was pretty solid at an 8.5, with most of the standard FPS being there, but frustrations and technical issues hampered the score, such as some of the overall controls and interactions with fighting the enemies. The game's visuals and attention to detail made it easy to become immersed in the world and forget you're probably in a room with nothing but Mountain Dew and Doritos. But unfortunately, poor animations, cookie-cutter characters, and at times, mediocre voice acting prevented you from getting completely lost in it all, and drops the score to just out of A range and into the B+ range. The game's visuals and plot were the highlight of the game, and both received scores of A and A+, respectively. The low points of the game were the game's overall performance and replay value. The performance of the game was very bad, and literally unplayable at times. But recent fixes have solved some of the crashing errors, and as a result, barely scraped by with a D-. The replay value is slightly above the average, with an alternate ending being the main attraction, but ultimately this game is a one and done for the average player. In the end, I very much appreciated what Metro had to offer. For story and atmosphere suckers like me, this is a game you might find liking very, very much. But for the FPS and horror thrill seekers out there, this game could range from meh to pretty decent, and overall is still worth a look if you're looking for something a little different to try.